That's all? Yeah, sure. That's all, Ben. Mm-hmm.
Hey, listen, if you don't like the way I count, you can count yourself. I mean, it's true. It's too hard to count on top of everything else I have to say. But we are going to get started with mat Pilates. So let me just mute everyone here. Okay, so we're going to get started. Actually, there's like 3 other people signed up, but we're going to get started anyways because it's got to be on time. I've been doing some standing up Pilates in the beginning, some vertical Pilates, just to do something different. So we're going to start here. Inhaling, reaching arms nice and high. Exhaling, out through the mouth into our side bend. Get those arms windmilling. I really like this as a first exercise because not only does it get our arms out of our typical range here of taping and eating and whatever, gets it up and over our head, but we often don't do lateral side bends. We might rotate and stuff, but we rarely do this lateral side bend motion. So starting with this feels great. We often do flexion and extension. So basically, this motion, flexion. So again, we don't often do this lateral. So go as slow as you like. Everything about Pilates is about slowness and control. Maybe there's like 1 or 2 exercises where we actually use a little bit of momentum, but not much. Okay. I'm going to go into last one here. We're going to go into sort of a pelvic tuck. You don't have to face the side, you can face front, but basically from neutral spine, we're going to go into the standing cats. Round the spine, tuck the pelvis, right? You can look down on the floor to have your head and neck sort of go with the curvature of your spine, and then going into the cat, if you will. No, that was the cat. This is the standing cow. This is the standing arch. It's extension. So I lift my tailbone and I lift my chest. So it's like you're really proud of your chest and your butt, right? Okay, then you're like, wait, but maybe I'm not super proud of it. Or no, maybe you are. And you know what I say about this movement? I say this is what we do in like Zumba. No, just kidding. It actually is, but that is just about pelvis positions and spine positions. All right, from here, I'm going to go into neutral again, and I'm going to have you go into a lunge. So your feet are hip distance apart. I'm going to get that heel down for a nice calf stretch. If your calves are really tight, don't force it down there. But again, we're going to do a tilt. So this is my tailbone sticking out. I would say I'm slightly arched. And I'm going to go into more neutral. So this pelvic tilt brings my knee down and forward. All right, so I'm more into a kind of a fitness lunge. I'm going to straighten my back leg again, go into a little arch, and then neutral. You don't want to overly tuck though, because we're not going into flexion. You don't want to go to spine flexion. Neutral and a little bit arched. All right, and you can just feel your hip flexors getting stretched a little bit. Feel your quads, and again, your calves get stretched when you straighten the leg. Just kind of increasing your body awareness about all these parts of your body that relate to your core. Core muscles are any muscle that attaches to your spine and your pelvis. Okay, one more. This exercise also requires a little bit of balance, so there's that. So remember, feet hip distance apart. I'm just going to turn to the side. You can do this facing forward. Like I said, I happen to be near a wall, so if I lose my balance, I can use it. Same thing, other side. I feel like sometimes my left side, because my left leg, is a little tighter than my right, so I can feel like it's like stretching my calves more. I'm not too worried about the front leg right now. It's kind of just there in a slightly bent position. I'm not really bending or straightening the front knee right now. I'm focusing on the back. So again, a slight arch, and then we're tucking the tailbone under, and it brings us into neutral. When I extend my leg back, because the hip is in an extended position, it creates a little arch in my back. A little bit of anatomy talk there. Good. All right, let's do one more. All right, I'm gonna go back to the first side. You can do whatever you want with your arms for balance. All right, so here, make sure your abs are nice and braced. We're looking for a neutral position, neutral spine extending through the back leg. Now I'm going to bend a little bit just so I can push off. And that extension here brings me into a straight line from ears, shoulders, hips, knees, and toes, ankles and toes. All right, so this is a little arabesque. And what helps with the balance is looking at a spot, 2 or 3 feet ahead of your front toe. Again, do what you need with your arms. We're trying not to arch the back. So I'm trying not to do something like that. And I'm not using a lot of momentum. It's a controlled sort of takeoff. And then you just want to check that you're pretty good with balance so that you control the lowering. Not because you fell into the back foot, like, oh, there's my balance, So try to, I can't look over there and do this at the same time because where you look really affects your balance. And if I look over there, I might fall. Good. What this does is because we're on one leg, a lot of stability happening in the pelvis area, right? With your glutes, hamstrings, inner and outer thighs, all working together so that you can maintain this balance. Sorry, I just fell. And that's okay. Not a big deal if that happens. All right, are we ready for the other side? All right, take your time with this. I'm really not focused on counting the reps. Just, I'm doing around, I think, 8 of them. But the goal is just to kind of feel. You're not going to get super fatigued from this either. Your goal is just to really increase body awareness. Like just bend my knees a little bit to push off. And you should feel that you're in a straight line, again, from the top of the head through that back toe. Okay? And you'll also notice I'm in a slant. I'm not going to like parallel like this. That's very extreme. So this front leg stabilizing is doing a lot of work, right? Because if your muscles weren't all working to stabilize, your hips would buckle. Like you would sort of fall and settle into your joint. This basically means that my muscles aren't on the outer thigh aren't strong enough to help me stay lifted through the hip. Let's do one more. And then go ahead and walk to the front of your mats. And gracefully sit down. Just kidding, you can sit down however you like. Okay, so we are now on the floor. I'm in the front half of my mat so that when I roll down, my head is on the mat. But you can always adjust yourself later. We're going to start with a half roll back. Feeling that abdominal engagement. And then inhale to lengthen through the top of the head. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Again, you'll feel that pelvis tuck under, right? That tailbone tuck under as you flex the spine. It's because your spine inserts into your pelvis. So those two are very closely connected in how they move. Exhale here, out through the mouth, we purse lips, inhale to lengthen. Let's add an arm sweep, if you'd like. It just creates a little more challenge to the abs. I'm not really rotating here, I'm just letting the range of motion of my arms go. So I sweep my other arm back, no rotation. Feel increased work in the abs. Keep those shoulders down and relax away from the ears. Okay. You can continue sweeping the arms, or if you want to keep the arms right here, go ahead. I'm going to give another option, arms overhead. This class is all about finding your challenges with your body. So I'm giving you lots of options. You can keep the arms low, you can keep the arms high, and you can keep the arms right in front of you and not do anything with them. Lots of variation, options, and modifications throughout this class. Go ahead and roll all the way down. And once again, we're going to focus on this spine and pelvis relationship When your tailbone's on the floor, your lower back is off the floor. And there's a small space under your lower back. That's your neutral. And when your lower back's on the floor, your tailbone's off the floor. That's your imprint. It pretty much is sort of impossible to have your tailbone and lower back on the floor at the same time, generally speaking. But there is something called flat back. So, go ahead and just kind of go between imprint and neutral. Exhale, imprints. Inhale, neutral, tailbone on the floor. Exhale, imprint. Good, one more time. And then find your imprint. We're going to be an imprint for most of the Pilates. Here's your tabletop, knee over the hips, shins parallel. Exhale, knees at 90 degrees as you tap the toe. Exhale. Good. So as you slowly lower a leg, try to keep the tension out of your neck and shoulders. You can put a little pressure into the hands if you want. The bulk of the work should be right here in the abs, maintaining the imprints. You might feel some in your hip flexors and quads. If you don't feel anything, check that your knee angle is at 90. Sometimes maybe you might not realize that your heel has dropped and is very low, and so you're tapping really close to the mat. If this feels too challenging, then you do want to actually decrease the angle of your knees. I'm going to change to a double leg lowering or a 10-toe tap. And here, again, you want to pay attention to your imprint. If you find that you're arching your low back off the mat, then just stop the lowering of the leg wherever you feel that you're losing your imprint. And then okay. All right, last one. And then you can drop your heels and feel that release. From here, we're going to go into our shoulder bridge or hip bridge. Roll on up, starting from the tailbone, one vertebra at a time, inch by inch. Then find that straight line, shoulders, hips, and knees. Inhale at the top. Exhale, roll on down slowly. So squeeze your butt on the way up, obviously. But, no pun intended when I say butt there. A lot of times we start to relax the butt as we start lowering. Right? It's really easy to just kind of use your hamstrings and push through the heels. But actively think about and concentrate on keeping your butt nice and tight as you roll down inch by inch. And then release the butt when your tailbone hits the floor. Let's try that one more time. Inhale, exhale. Engaging the glutes. Reach those knees away from the shoulders. Inhale at the top. Exhale, roll down. Keeping the glutes engaged until the tailbone hits the floor. At prep, nod your chin, look toward the knees. We sort of articulate here too, which is moving bit by bit. We lift the head first, just a little bit before the shoulder blades come up and reach the arms. In the end, we want to protect the neck, so we want to look toward the knees as much as possible and not look at the ceiling. I'm imprinted, exhale to lift, inhale lower. The segues right into hundreds. The hundreds are where you pump the arms 100 times, keeping the arms nice and straight. When we do this today, you can hold your leg still in one position for the entire hundreds, or you can move it around. I'm going to be changing my legs in different angles every 10. Feel free to join me if you like, or again, you can keep your legs at tabletop, straights, or on the diagonal for the entire hundreds. I'm going to start with my legs here at 90 degrees. Reach the arms. Here we go. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale 2, 3, 4, 10. I'm lowering. And exhale 2, 3, 4, 20. Lift. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 30. Inhale. And exhale. 40. Inhale. And exhale. 50. Inhale. Exhale. 60. Keep your eyes on your knees. Exhale. 70. Exhale. We're on 80. What's the worst that could happen if I lose count? Nothing. Nothing bad happens when I lose count. Last 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, I don't know. Lay on your stomach. So when we're on our stomach, we actually do not want to articulate. So you don't want to lift your head up first and then your chest. We really want to keep the head, neck, chest sort of combination of body parts lifting as one unit. So I have my forearms on the ground. I gently press in the forearms, and I pretend I have a neck brace on so that my head, neck, and chest, or upper part of the torso, comes off the ground at the same time. Now, legs are staying on the ground for now, but I'd like you to have them active. So squeeze those quadriceps, engage the legs, keep them separated. You want to feel pretty strong and anchored as you lift your upper body. Keep that chin slightly tucked, head and neck align the spine. I'm going to take my arms away. Feel free to keep them there for assistance. If you reach them toward your toes, you might be able to get a little bit more lift and squeeze your shoulder blades together a little bit more. It's not necessarily about height though. Think about length and think about feeling the muscles around your spine working. This is spine extension. We're working on our postural muscles in the hopes that we never ever slouch again. Okay, one more version. Stacking the hands under the forehead, giving yourself a little bit of resistance now. It's definitely helpful to have the legs engaged when you are connecting your fingertips and hands to the forehead and lifting the weight of your arms. If you weren't sure if your head and neck were aligned before, having your hands underneath the forehead and staying connected really helps to get your head in the right position. Last two. And last one. Good. Go ahead and push yourself up and stretch. Our spine muscles are somewhat delicate, so we always give it a little stretch after we immediately do it. Yeah, we already did our half rollbacks. But we are going to do another variation of it. This looks like the top part of the teaser, or the end of a teaser. As I roll halfway back, I'm going to extend a leg. All right, my knees are relatively still next to each other. Creating that spine flexion. Inhale, lift. Exhale, extend the other leg. It is quite okay as you sit up if the spine is not perfectly straight. Don't worry about it. The point is that you're trying to sit up taller. You're trying to move out of the C curve into a more neutral curve. Keep breathing. Exhale, reach. Inhale. Lift the chest. Exhale. I'm going to do 4 more with both legs extending. My feet are hip distance apart right now, but as I lift both, I'm going to squeeze the legs together. And if you want to continue doing single legs, go ahead. Exhale, reach. Inhale. 2 more, which is 1 more with each leg, or 2 more with 2 legs. Go ahead and roll all the way down. I'm going to squeeze my feet together. As I do my roll up, I'm going to feel when I'm going to get stuck. And at that moment, I'm going to shoot my heels out. So inhale, reach the arms up, nod the chin. Start to peel your spine up, 1 vertebra at a time. Right around here, I know I'm going to get stuck. So I shoot my legs out activate those quadriceps. So your legs are nice and straight and tight. I'm going to dive forward for this stretch, hamstring stretch, calf stretch, and back stretch. Go ahead and roll down, keeping the heels anchored heavily to the mats. Inhale, and then exhale. Finish the roll down and drag your feet in. A little bit of friction, just a little bit. Again, let's try to make this as smooth as possible. Inhale, transitions to the exhale. Inhale, rolling back, transitions to the exhale. We're basically exhaling during the most challenging part of the roll up and the roll down, which is the roll up part and the roll down. So basically when your spine goes up and your spine goes down, that's the most challenging, right? This lifting of the arm here, oops, let me bend my knees. This lifting of the arm here is not as challenging as when I lift my spine. And lowering here is not as challenging until I start to place my vertebrae on the ground. Let's do one more. You need to shoot your legs out a little faster in order to assist with your roll up. That's fine, do it. You know your body. Find what's doable and challenging for you. All right, going to single leg stretch. So all the variations is extending legs on the high diagonal, pulling the knee really far into the chest, helps to anchor your imprints. If you want more challenge, then lift the head, neck, and shoulders. Allows you to feel your abs more. You can lower the extension of the leg, go at a lower angle. And the last thing you can do is stop how far your knee comes in toward your chest. This is a great thing about body weight exercises. You can really, if you really understand physics and gravity, you can know how to make exercise more challenging. But do what's challenging for you. The great thing about this knowledge, about knowing how to make things harder, is you also know how to make things easier. So I'm also really good at cheating. All right, hands behind the head, add that rotation. Shoulder blades, get them off the ground. We're not going to roll them side to side across the ground. Both of them are off the ground and we rotate. Get one shoulder blade a little higher than the other. Legs are similar to before. You can go higher on the diagonal or lower on the diagonal. Pull your knees in as far as you want. 4, elbows wide. 3, 2, 1. All right, sorry, I didn't really talk about breathing there because I was talking so much about technique. But hopefully you're all still breathing. You breathe on the exertion phase. Exhale, reach. Double leg stretch. Inhale, come in. Exhale, reach. The lower your angle is towards the floor, the more challenging it is to maintain the imprint. The neck and shoulder blades can be on or off the ground. Exhale, reach. Inhale, return. Exhale, reach. Last one. All right, what's next? Scissors. When I do a variation of scissors, maybe you've seen scissors before, it's the legs straight, just switching. We're gonna start actually at tabletop with our head, neck, and shoulders on the ground. We're gonna go into a ab prep or crunch position like this. At the same time, I'm gonna shoot my legs straight, one to the ceiling and one at a low angle. This is scissors, except we're not switching yet. Lower back down, inhale. Exhale, lift, reach. Inhale, return. Again, both knees are about 90 degrees, roughly. Exhale, reach. One more time here. Exhale, reach. Switch. Don't go down, switch. Now, come down. Sorry, that was a mean trick. Exhale, reach. Inhale, return. We're not just firing up our abs, we're firing up our hip flexors and our quadriceps. When we extend those legs, that requires engaged quads. Don't worry, I'm really counting for this one because this is pretty hard. I don't want to do too much. Last one. We're going to switch this time. Switch. And return. Okay, we're not going to do all that again on each side. We're just going to do basic scissors. So we're going to straighten the leg and then switch, 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 switch. Come up and switch. Inhale during the switch, exhale on the extension. So while my legs are scissors when I catch a quick inhale. Last 3 and 2 and 1. I know, you didn't know how I was going to count. I didn't know how I was going to count either. So your abs are probably pretty fatigued, so it's a good time to come back to our stomach to work on our spine. We're going to start with our arms low. We're going to reach it to the side and then end with it up here. If this doesn't feel comfortable for you or feel like it's a little too much, stay here or down here. So we already did this version, but I'm going to lift my legs up this time. So my legs are extended. My butt is engaged to do a hip extension. Exhale to lower, inhale to lift. Actively reach to the corners of the room. We're not reaching straight behind us. Last 2. Good. I'm going to take my arms out to the side, and hopefully you have more space because I'm kind of hitting my heater here. But regardless, I'm going to lift like my arms are in a T. I might feel a little bit more shoulder blade movement here. Same thing. If you want to keep your legs on the ground, you can. That's always an option. Remember to keep that chin tucked, head and neck aligned with the spine. Your eye gaze is always on the floor. We're never looking up anywhere but the floor. Last version, arms kind of in a Y, like to the corners of the mat. This is the most challenging. Don't worry too much about how high you lift. Good. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Because your arms are over your head on the exact opposite side of your legs. It's a lot more challenging for your rear deltoids. It's just further away from your midsection, your midline. All right, go ahead, sit back. Give ourselves a little stretch again. Gonna go into our sideline clamshell. So today's sideline movements or work is based on the clamshell here. So you want to align your arm, head, shoulders, spine, pelvis, and your feet in one line. You can align it to the back edge of your mat if you like. And your knees are going to be pulled forward. It's roughly about 90 degrees. You'll know that it's the right spot because you're able to pretty easily have range of motion as you do your clamshell. This is external rotation. Your kneecap face forward and the face is on the high diagonal. All right, if your heels are too close to your butt, it might not feel like a lot of work. And if it's too straight, you have very little range of motion. So you can kind of experiment a couple times until you find what feels right. Again, your knees are opening up like clams, like the mouth of a clam. And your feet are staying together. Now, it's during this time that I never count. I just kind of go until I start to feel really fatigued. Just kidding, sort of. Now we're going to do internal rotation. So if you recall, external is kneecaps forward, kneecaps up on the diagonal. Now we're going to do kneecaps forward. Lift the feet, not the knees, and your kneecap faces at a downward angle. This is internal rotation. You don't really need a kickstand hand. My hand is just here because it's there. You might find that it's really easy to do. Keep breathing, by the way, just inhale and exhale. You might find it's really easy to do internal rotation and very challenging to do external. Or you might find the opposite, very easy to do external, very hard to do internal. We're all different. And that's kind of one thing you want to learn about yourself as you do Pilates. To do do internal to external. For instance, if you grew up taking ballet, you're going to be externally rotated because ballet is done pretty much externally rotated all the time. And then maybe, you know, when you're growing up, if you had some moments where you knock kneed a little bit, then you're favoring internal rotation. And this is just kind of, you know, how we're all different as human beings. We're different, asymmetrical from right to left, and just also in terms of how we internally rotate and externally rotate. And as our leg starts to feel like it's really dying, we do one last exercise, which is no rotation. Keep everything in neutral. So put your knees and feet back together and then lift. Try to keep the shins as parallel as possible, meaning both the knees and feet come apart and both the knees and feet come back together at the same time. This is when our shins are not on any diagonal, but our shins are perfectly parallel to each other. And you really don't need to lift very high, just about hip height is enough to feel all of these lovely outer thigh muscles. So worked on our inner rotators, external rotators, and our outer thighs. Okay, my right leg is pretty much finished, so hopefully yours is as well. Same thing. Keep breathing. Align everything to the back edge of your mats, other than your knees. So your feet should be in the same line as your hips through your shoulders and ears. We start with external rotation. You can exhale to open, inhale to lower. When you lower, it's always in control. It's not like you open and then you just drop your leg because gravity takes a hold of it, right? You want to resist gravity with every lowering you do. There's actually a term for it. It's called eccentric contraction. Like if you did a pull-up and you pulled up against gravity, it's really hard. But if you just fell after you did the pull-up, you didn't use any muscle on the way down. But if you lowered yourself slowly, yeah, you might be moving in the same direction as gravity, but you're still using your muscles. So muscles work in both directions. In Pilates, you always want to control the movement on the way up and on the way down. Okay, let's do internal. So open up your feet. Even though our abs technically aren't being worked directly right now, you do want to use it for stabilization. So you can just remind yourself, in addition to breathing and moving your legs, to draw your abdominals in, help it stabilize. Let's do the extremes, internal to external. So we're bypassing neutral now. Just pay attention to how your left leg or your other leg feels. Is it easier or harder? Is it fatiguing really quickly? And then we're going to go into the neutral, the keeping. Like I said, I really should count, but I don't. Part of the reason is everyone's going at their own pace anyways. But I try to always go to the point where I feel pretty challenged. Then I do a couple more. Like, oh, this is so sore. I really feel the muscle fatigue. I'll just do a couple more. It's ultimately how you want to build strength and muscle, is to kind of go a little bit beyond your fatigue point. If this class was completely effortless to you, yeah, it means you're really strong for sure, but it also means you're not going to get stronger because you didn't do anything to challenge yourself in this class. All right, lay on your back. I don't know why I have to put one side. But we're going to do a quick stretch. And we're going to do our shoulder bridge. So going back to our butt. So without the articulation. So if you recall, articulation was when we rolled up one vertebra at a time and lowered one vertebra at a time. We're going to go straight up, straight down. So treat your spine as a very, very strong, stable, I don't want to use the word stiff, a strong and stable ruler that just comes completely, goes up and drops straight down. Okay, you can keep your hands right there or take them off the ground, which, believe it or not, creates just a little bit more instability. Stability with the hands down, instability here. But you know, we should probably start with our hands down first as we lift the leg, right? So feet are hip distance apart. You don't want it too wide, but you don't want them together either. You want a little bit of challenge. So as I push the hips up, I bring one leg to tabletop. Alternate. And now if you'd like to try. Arms up. Feel a little bit more abdominals kicking in. Maybe even a little more glute work on the one leg that's still on the ground. It's got to do the work. Just a lot of core stability, abdominal stability to keep both hips at the same height, right? Because we're trying not to have this hip dip here, just because the leg is gone. Continuing, but with a leg extension. So I extend the hip and extend the leg. Extend the hip, extend the leg. Inhale here at the bottom. Exhale. Extension. Inhale. Flexion. Exhale. Extension. Again, you can put your arm back down. This is just variations and options. I might add, when your arms are up, you don't want to protract the shoulder blade. You don't want the shoulder blade off the ground. Kind of dig your shoulder blades down to the back. It gives you a little bit more stability. One more on each side. Okay, we are done there. I'll go into some teasers. Go ahead and hug your knees into the chest. Actually, we're going to go to the tabletop, actually. So teasers, there's so many variations. So this is just one variation. It starts like a roll up, reaching to arms, head, neck, and shoulders. And if you recall in the warm up and the roll up, we shot our legs out straight from the floor. Here we're going to shoot our legs out, but on the diagonal. And this gets us into that position that you saw already, that we did earlier. Feel free to bend the knees in order to balance in your tailbone. Good. Inhale. And then we're going to open back up to the reverse. Exhale to open up, counterbalance. So you can control the lowering. If you don't extend the legs before you roll down, you will just fall back. Okay? We're going to do one more of this version. Legs straight if you want. And if you keep your legs straight, then you don't have to strain it again when you start to roll down. Because it's already in a position to counterbalance your torso rolling down. So we're going to do a figure 8. The infinity symbol. So to the side, okay? Roll up, inhale, exhale, inhale to one side, exhale to the other, inhale to center, exhale, roll down. Return. Do it again. Except do your infinity to the other side first. Inhale, arms up, exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale to center. Exhale, roll down. 2 more. If you want to skip the infinity, skip the infinity. Well, honestly, if you want to skip the teaser, you can skip the teaser. This is your class. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Last one. See, I count where it's really important to count. Inhale. I'm stressing breathing a lot because this is a pretty challenging exercise where people just want to hold their breath. All right, go ahead and roll down. That's it, we are done. Whew. All right, what have we not done yet? We've not done a plank. Feel free to do this on your elbows. I'm going to be doing it on the arms, the wrists. It can bother the wrist if you have any wrist sensitivities, but there are just some different arm strengthening, shoulder strengthening benefits to being on your arms. But you can absolutely still feel a lot in your abs and core doing it on your elbows. So either the elbows or the wrists directly underneath the shoulders. Reach those heels to the back of the room. So find that straight line from the shoulder to the hips, knees, and ankle. On the exhale, I'm going to lift one leg no higher than the hip and point the toe. Point. That's it. And return. Flex. So actively point the other toe. Actually flex and lower. Get eye gaze on the floor. Right between your thumbs. Really brace the abs. Squeeze your butt. Squeeze your quads. Legs should be straight. Exhale, reach. Inhale, lower. Lower with control. Don't just drop the leg. Exhale, reach. Inhale, lower. Be very active with the feet. Exhale, reach. Inhale, lower. Last time. Reach. And lower. Good. Okay. We're going to do vertical plank. So you remember that braced feeling. Your abs are braced, your glutes are braced, everything's braced. You got to brace from the front and the back in order to maintain the neutral. If I squeeze my butt and relax my abs, guess what? I arch. If I really squeeze my abs and relax my butt, I do this. Try to avoid both of those as we do what's called the vertical plank. I like to keep my toes pointed. It creates a little more challenge. This is sort of an assist. Okay? Arms reach forward for counterbalance. Just go a couple degrees back. I say test the waters. See how it feels. If it feels okay, go maybe a little further. You're really feeling your quads, glutes, and abs. Probably your quads the most. I've also doubled up on my yoga mat just to give my kneecaps a little more cushion. But what I will say is this. You don't want to go so far back that you lose your neutral. Feel it. Pay attention to what your body's doing. Right here, I can feel that I arched. I'm not going to go back that far next time. I'm going to go really far back and I'm going to feel I drop my butt. I'm not going to go that far. All right, so everyone's going to be different. Find what's challenging, but doable with the correct form. I'm just looking over my fingernails, keeping my head more or less in alignment with my spine. I'm not going to look at the ceiling. I'm not going to drop my chin and look at the floor. Just right over those fingernails. Exhale, hinge back, hinging at the knees, right? That's the only knee joint that's really working because we're not using the hips. Okay, let's do two more. Relax those shoulders. If they're creeping up to the ears, we don't want that tension there in the neck. Did I say two more? Okay, one more. I just sometimes have to prove to myself and to you that I can count. Okay, enough of that. So we're gonna go back to doing some leg circles. I don't know why I said back to. I guess we're on our back again. We need to do double leg circles. You can do with your knees bent, which I know can seem kind of confusing at times. But you're basically letting your thigh bones circle in the hip socket joint without your butt lifting up. So don't go too far. And then 2 legs. Okay? So I'm gonna actually start with my knees bent. Just to kind of, what is gonna happen is as your knees come towards your chest, it feels easier on the imprint. Comes to the side, you need a little bit of oblique stability. And then when you bring your knees away from you, this is the challenge right here, right? Like your thigh bone is at an angle. So it's all about the angle of your thigh bone. This is short lever, so it's a little easier. Exhale as your knees move away from you. Inhale as they pull in towards you. Now reverse direction. We've done several on that first side. This is quite challenging. If you really concentrate, maintain that imprint. Okay, if your knees separate a little bit. Now, if you like to try it with your legs straight, it's a little easier to sort of imagine what's happening, right? Because your legs are straight. Now they're drawing circles on the ceiling. Press into the floor. Same thing. Don't make the circle too big. Maybe the size of a pizza. Whatever breathing is working for you, just do it. Sometimes we think so much about breathing, and it turns out that our body naturally wants to do a certain thing. Just let it do it. Reverse direction. The circle does not need to be massive, and your legs do not have to be straight. 6, 5, 4. Try to keep your knees together if you can. 3, 2, and 1. Okay. Not only do my abs feel like, but my quads are also quite fatigued. Bring it in on our hands and knees. So the wrists are underneath the shoulders, knees are underneath the hips. Find your neutral. So that means finding your extreme curve or and finding your extreme arch and going right in between there. Go ahead and try that. I'm gonna do a spinal balance. So extend one leg no higher than the hip. Again, looking for that neutral. If you feel stable here, bring the other opposite arm up. Yeah, we're gonna sort of do a teeter-totter here. So I'm gonna keep my arm straight, touch the floor. As I lift my arm, my leg will go down. Leg goes up, hand goes down. Now, of course, your leg is much longer than your arms. You just kind of have to time it here. But your spine should be completely undisturbed because your leg can move within the hip socket and your shoulder has that same range of motion, right? Like circumduction. Basically, your hip and shoulder can all make circles, ideally, pending no injuries. All right, let's try the other side. Bend the leg. Reach the hand down. Lift the arm as the leg is down. Abdominal should be braced the entire time you're doing this. Keep alternating the breath. Last pair. Good. Go ahead and sit back. Round the spine. So you can either do a round spine from the quadruped position, or you can do it sitting on your heels. The point is that you are rounding the spine. And then if you want to do it from your quadruped, you're going to arch. You can also do it sitting on your heels. So you probably do slouching a lot, you know, unintentionally throughout the day. But just remember to give yourself some times to arch the back while you're sitting at your desk. So you're not favoring the flexion all the time. Thank you very much for joining. Let me know if you have any questions.